Life can sometimes be unfair. My name is Stephanie. I am 25 years old, and I come from Cameroon, more precisely from the eastern part. For those who know this region of Cameroon, girls from the east are sometimes referred to as prostitutes. I wonder if it was not this label that triggered my mother's intentions. I am the only child of my mother, and I did not know my father. Growing up in a single-parent family was very traumatic for me. We were extremely poor. We lived in a small room that my mother rented in an unsanitary and overcrowded neighborhood. We lived there, my mother and I, accompanied by two of my cousins. I was the eldest of the two. My mother worked as a housekeeper in a wealthy family in the city. It is thanks to certain gifts from his boss that we managed somehow to get out of it. It all started in 2008. When I was in from 4, I was 14 years old. My mother told me one Friday evening that she was going to another city to visit one of her sisters who was seriously ill, and that she was only going to be back in 2 days. To be candid, I knew very well that she was not going to visit her sister. My mother used to leave the house for 2 or 3 days to go to play life. As it is popularly said with her lovers, I know this because I often listened to her talking on phone with them. At least I didn't know who exactly she was in a relationship with, since several men paraded all the time at the house to spend some time with her when it was her day off. Before continuing, I would like to tell you a little about my mother. My mother gave birth to me when she was still very young. She was exactly 16 years old. Born of very poor parents, she had to go through thick and thin to make money. My mother had chosen the easy way instead to be going out with wealthy men despite her young age. It was during her adventures that she conceived me, not knowing until now who the father is. So she took on this pregnancy on her own, and that's why I grew up without a father. I even remember my classmates often called me bastard based on the famous novel Father Unknown by Paid Mongo, a novel that served us as a reading support in French class. My mother was never able to get married and start a family as any woman would like to do. She always liked to be a free woman to enjoy her life to the full. She often said it. Sometimes I had the feeling that my mother did not love me, at least that she regretted giving birth to me. She let me know somehow. She often told me clearly that she would have liked to have had a daughter who is much prettier. In short, I was not the gold mine she would have liked to have. She was always happy that I had a fairly developed buttocks because, according to her, it would attract men to me. She didn't really have great study plans for me. This famous weekend, my mother left the house on Saturday morning, leaving just a small pot of kawam, mixture of cassava leaves without salt accompanied by cassava. For those who do not know this dish, kawam without salt is a traditional meal from eastern Cameroon. I was therefore convinced that she was only going to spend 2 days. The 2 days passed quickly, and within a short time we had nothing to eat. From Monday morning, we were impatiently awaiting Mom's return. But their expectations were cut short, as enthusiastic as they were turned into a nightmare. It's been almost 2 weeks, and Mom still hasn't come home. I didn't know how to reach her. Her phone number didn't go through, and everyone I asked about her didn't know. My cousins and I spent our time begging for food from neighbors until they got tired of us and chased us away as soon as we showed up at their doors. Desperate, my 2 little cousins and I were on the verge of depression. We were hungry and losing weight visibly. Time went by, and it had already been 3 weeks since Mom had left. And so far, we have not heard from her. Had she abandoned us? This question crossed my mind every time I went to bed at night. To continue to feed my sisters and I had to go to the food market every evening to pick up the waste that had fallen either from a bag of cassava or cocoyams or from a bunch of overripe plantains, which I boiled so that we could eat. I did it every night until the day when, not having found much, I continued to search when night had almost fallen. It was getting late, but I was just disgusted that I hadn't found anything. As I decided to go home, I was overtaken by a gang of kids commonly referred to as Nangaboko. They had copiously raped me and left me there on the ground. After their crime, I was rescued by men passing by. Back home, I was pierced by a double pain, that of having been destroyed from the outside, but also from the inside due to the absence of my mother, the one who was supposed to watch over me. 2 days later, Uncle Bertrand came to the house saying that he had come from my mother. I had already seen him more than once at home. He was a friend of my mother. I was finally happy and above all relieved. Life wasn't going to be so difficult anymore, but I had it all wrong. Uncle Bertrand, as he was called, made me an offer that destroyed my soul. That evening he said to me, "Stephanie, you are a very beautiful girl. If you're good, I'll take care of you and your cousins." Not really understanding the deeper meaning of what he said, Zoe asked him in return, "Uncle Bertrand, what do you mean exactly? If I'll accept to do everything I ask of you, I will give you everything you want. What should I do, Uncle Bertrand? Come and meet me at this address tomorrow around 6 p.m. He gave me a card which had an address on it. The next day, I decided to go there, going there out of curiosity and not conviction. When it was evening, I still took the courage to say goodbye to my cousins, and I left the house to join Uncle Bertrand at the address indicated. When I arrived, I found myself in front of a very beautiful villa. It was very large, surrounded by a sumptuous fence painted white and listed with flowers. In fact, from the outside, this villa was simply perfect. As I was trying to figure out how to get in, a man came out and asked me if I were Stephanie. "Yes, sir," I replied. He smiled and asked me to come in. As soon as I entered, I was overwhelmed by the splendor of this house. It was even more beautiful inside. The gentleman sat me down in one of the living rooms and offered me a drink. "Would you like something to drink?" "No, thanks. The boss will soon receive you." He left the room. I understood at this moment that the gentleman was an employee of Uncle Bertrand. I waited Uncle Bertrand for about 30 minutes, and during this time, I scrutinized the room in which I was. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching. It was Uncle Bertrand. "Hello, Uncle," I said in a shaky voice. "Good evening, Stephanie. How are you?" "I'm fine, Uncle." "How are your sisters?" "They are well. Thank God." He sits down next to me and moves closer and closer. I don't know why, but fear slowly invades my mind. Then he spoke again and said, "Don't be afraid of me. I won't hurt you. Your mom asked me to take care of you and your sisters." Despite these remarks, I still didn't feel reassured. I felt like I had a lump in my throat. I felt like I was suffocating. Uncle Bertrand saw very quickly that I was not comfortable and took a huge amount of money out of his pocket. I had never seen that much money. Without any waste of time, he asked me to be his mistress. I quickly swallowed the knot in my throat. I took the little courage that was buried in me and retorted, "But Uncle Bertrand, I'm still a child. I'm only 14 years old." "No, Stephanie, at 14 you are a young girl who can already please a man," he chuckled. I watched my little life flash before me and the suffering my cousins and I were going through. I told myself that I was damned. How could I handle such at my age? Where was my mother? It's already been 3 months since my mother left, and I've been Uncle Bertrand's lover for exactly 2 months. One evening when I was going to Uncle Bertrand's, I inadvertently listened to his phone conversation in front of the gate of his villa. He was talking to my mother. She was asking him for the rest of the money. As he kept talking, I realized that my own mother had sold me to this man. At a young age, I had to sell my body to fend for myself and my cousins. Tears instantly filled my eyes. I couldn't come back. My own mother had contributed to my destruction. Back home, my mother gave me no explanation. All she could tell me was that from now on, I was going to have to cater for myself and my family. Her long absence from work affected her business. I finally had to stop school since I had to be available all the time for my many outings. Yes, multiple outings. I no longer only went out with Uncle Bertrand, but with other men as well. Few years later, I fell seriously ill and ended up realizing that I had been infected with HSV/AIDS, in addition to the multiple abortions I had committed. Supported by a foundation, I was able to more or less regain my health. Having noticed my determination, I was recruited into this same foundation to raise awareness among young girls of my age. Today, I am 25 years old, and I am campaigning for the social success of young girls.